Chapter 1. You are not alone. We all get hurt, and we all feel pain. Sometimes the pain is benign, and other times it's too much to take. Seeking support is the best way to ease the pain, especially when the pain stems from broken pieces of trust that are perforating your soul. But remember, you're not the only one who got betrayed. There have been and will always be people sailing in the same boat as you. Here are some stories of those brave men and women who had the last laugh in their battles with betrayals. What you'll notice is that trust is far more complex and present in many more relationships than only between two partners. It is the foundation of many relationships between people and animals. Trusting a professional. There are many instances in life when you have to rely on the expertise of someone else. This can be both medical practitioners or any other professional in a specific field. Trusting a trainer. Sometimes we just need to heed the advice of those who are more experienced in a certain field. It might be a challenge not to dismiss advice, especially the advice you don't want to hear. Katrina Plyler shared her story of how doing so saved her life. She explained she is an athlete who always pushes herself very hard when she is in training. She was busy preparing for a marathon and pushing her body to its limits. Therefore, it was nothing unusual for her when she had muscle soreness after doing a 20-kilometer run. Later on, in the week, she went for a CrossFit session, and after a training session, her arm showed a slight swelling. This alerted her trainer, and he instructed her to drink plenty of water and check in with him regularly. He also asked her to please go to the doctor if it gets any worse. It did, and while she still thought that her trainer was unnecessarily cautious, she went to see her doctor. Little did she know that the diagnosis would be rather drastic. She had a life-threatening condition called rhabdomyolysis. It meant that her muscle overuse could lead to kidney failure. She immediately went on to IV fluids to wash toxins out of her system. Her doctor told her that if she waited 30 minutes longer, she would have been a case for the emergency room. If she didn't trust the advice of her trainer, matters could have turned out a lot worse for her. It's difficult to trust others with matters so intimate as our health, and it might even feel as if you are losing control. But for Katrina, the price of not trusting would have been far higher to pay than trusting someone even if they could be wrong. Trusting a professional with your future. Do you sometimes feel that you have barriers and the level of trust you are about to give to someone else depends on which barrier their impact reaches? Would you trust someone's advice and make a major change regarding your career that will affect your entire future? I am fortunate that my career allows me to meet people from all walks of life, often people who have had to overcome daunting challenges but live to tell their tales. One such client was Samantha. When she graduated as a chartered accountant, she was at the top of her class. She immediately got snatched up by one of the leading firms in the city, and she was ready to follow in the footsteps of her ancestors as she came from a long line of professionals in the financial world. It didn't take her long to realize soon after starting her job that she was not at all happy in her career. However, as her study debt burdened her and she didn't want to disappoint her family, she pushed on and hoped it would get better. Just before her first 5 years at the firm were over, the company merged with another leader in the field. The merger made many positions redundant, and Samantha received notice regarding her retrenchment. While she stated that her initial feeling was one of relief as she still dreaded her job, she still hadn't paid off all her college debt, didn't want to find another financial firm to work for, and felt she was too old to change her career path. She described how she slowly became even more depressed than she was while still in her position. It was a friend's mother who gave her the number of a career coach. As the career coach came so highly recommended, Samantha called him. They had only 2 sessions as it was all that she could afford at the time, but it was enough for him to let Samantha see that what she wanted to do her entire life was to be a DJ. But Samantha would turn 30 on her next birthday, and she felt she was too old to make a career shift into a position usually filled by much younger people than her. He convinced her otherwise, and as a local radio station was looking for a DJ to help them out, she immediately stepped into the position, a position that wasn't paying nearly as much as her previous job, but at least she earned some money. She flourished in the position, and while she told her family it was only temporary, she knew this was where she wanted to stay. Samantha was so passionate about what she did now, and she leaped up the ranks and got a far better paying position at a much larger radio station soon. She is still a DJ. Her study debt is no more, and her family accepted her alternative career choice. Why? Simply because, in her past, Samantha trusted a professional's advice on what she needed to do for the rest of her life. Trusting your gut feeling. When your child is born, your heart leaps from your chest and you have no control over it anymore. One of the many mentors along my journey stated, "I am sure this is a statement that many parents will agree with, as having a child makes you vulnerable. Nobody appreciates being in a vulnerable state, and some moments in life when this vulnerability is heightened are when your child is sick and there is nothing you can do about it." Lisa Randolph's story shows us just how important it is to just take that leap of faith and trust your gut feeling. Her son was born 5 weeks premature, and while all appeared to be fine and seemed as if her baby boy was in perfect health, it all changed a week after his birth when she found blood in his stool. In a frantic state, she immediately called her pediatrician and asked for advice. The pediatrician saw no cause for concern and immediately tried to put her mind at ease. However, when Lisa ended the conversation, her gut was still not calm. It's easy to think that she was merely overreacting as a first-time mother to a newborn baby, but she trusted her gut and got a second opinion. This opinion saved her son's life, as it was a far more drastic prognosis she received. Her son had a rare infection in his intestine. It sometimes occurs in premature babies, and if not addressed early on, can quickly become extremely severe and can lead to fatality. As Lisa trusted her gut, she was in time to get her son the medical help he needed. We need to trust our guts, even if it seems to be outrageous. Trusting animals. Not everybody is into pets, and those who are often strongly divided between cat lovers and dog lovers. While I have no specific preference for any kind of pet, I believe that both options for a domestic pet can become an excellent partner and sometimes get to know us better than we would ever have imagined. While stories where pets saved the lives of their owners are familiar to many, one story I recently read stuck with me. The young woman was living alone with her cat, and the two were extremely close. Thus, when her cat behaved in a manner out of the ordinary, she immediately took notice of it. Her cat would suddenly jump onto her tummy whenever it had the chance to do so. It would be persistent and just climb back even when she picked it up and made it another comfortable spot to lie. She would wake up in the middle of the night with her cat lying on her belly. She couldn't explain her cat's newly found obsession with her tummy, and it left her somewhat concerned. About 2 weeks into this odd behavior, she just felt one night as if something was off in her intestines. She stated she couldn't pinpoint the exact sensation, but as her cat already made her so conscious of her intestines, she visited her doctor the next day for a medical checkup. 3 days later, she received a call back from her doctor's office. They found a small growth in her colon and wanted to run more tests on it. The results weren't good. She had a very aggressive, cancerous growth in her colon. However, she came in early, and it is still small enough to remove it completely without causing too much harm to her colon. The operation was a success, and after a few weeks, her health concerns were cleared. She highlighted that if her cat didn't become so obsessed with her tummy, she might not even have noticed the discomfort, and by the time she would have gone to the doctor, the growth would have been far too advanced to operate on. Trusting her cat saved her life. Trusting a partner. While I want you to be comfortable with the idea that trusting someone isn't making you weak or exposed and that it will count in your favor many times to trust others, the reality is that many are struggling to allow themselves to trust another to that level. This lack of trust often presents itself in our relationships. We've seen it in the stories of Trevor and Samantha. While Trevor's relationships were more fleeting and never lasted long, Samantha's trust was shattered in a relationship that she has been in for many years, long enough to have 2 children and a beautiful life. Some couples that call on my help are far more mature than I am, and the reason they sit on the sofa in my office is simply because something happened that damaged the trust that was once between them. This leaves many with the questioning if trust is ever affordable in life. This question will remain an undercurrent throughout the entire book as we are working towards the point where you can trust again. The origin of trust issues. While I know that trust issues often present themselves in romantic relationships, these issues often stem from seeds that have been planted many years before the painful event that might end the relationship. It is why we will also explore the origins of trust and see that this dates back to your childhood experiences more often than not. A final word. The stories I've shared all express the importance of trusting others in your life. It can be hard sometimes to let others into spaces in your being where you would allow no one else. Yet, by trusting, you make not only yourself vulnerable, but it can also be that you empower yourself to become better versions of who you were meant to be. Trusting a partner can be more challenging than trusting in any other relationship. When you trust someone else, it's mainly only with a certain part of your life or your being. But when you trust your partner, it normally entails trusting that one person with your entire existence. It is the one person with whom you are intimate, and this intimacy requires absolute trust. Throughout most of the rest of the book, this will be the focal point. How do you overcome the pain that goes along with the disillusionment of trusting a partner? Can you transform your ability to no longer be hurt and not trust anyone but rather be empowered enough that you can trust freely and wisely to strengthen your bonds and excel in life? What I want to stick with you for now is, trust comes in many shapes and sizes. The need to trust can present itself in many types of relationships, even with our pets. The trust issues you are experiencing in your current relationship are most likely not caused by the current relationship, but because of the cumulative effect of having your trust broken repeatedly. Everyone can trust, and in this book, you will learn how. So, without further ado, let us continue to the next chapter where we will explore trust in relationships and how closely linked trust and the state of your relationship are.